Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams with the Midday News. The headlines. Winter session of Parliament concludes as both houses adjourn sine-die ahead of schedule. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya to hold a virtual meeting with state health ministers on COVID-19 situation this afternoon. Centre approves Bharat Biotech's nasal COVID vaccine for booster dose to be available on CoWIN app from today. India and Bangladesh agree to soon start discussion on Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. In cricket, India were 226 for 4 against Bangladesh at tea in their first innings on day 2 of second and final test match in Dhaka. The winter session of Parliament concluded today as both houses adjourned sine-die 6 days ahead of schedule. In his valedictory address in the Lok Sabha, Speaker Om Birla informed that the productivity of the House was 97% during the session.
इस सत्र के दौरान कुल 13 बैठकें हुई जो सभा के चालू सत्र की कार्य उत्पादकता लगभग 97% रही है। वर्तमान सत्र के दौरान 9 सरकारी विधेयक पुनर्स्थापित किए गए। कुल मिलाकर 60 विधेयक पारित हुए। मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, संसदीय कार्य मंत्री जी और विभिन्न दलों के नेताओं और माननीय सदस्यों के प्रति भी उनके सहयोग के लिए हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
In the Rajya Sabha, Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar said the House had a productivity of 102% during the session. He said the House passed and returned 9 bills during the period. Mr. Dhankar added that 31 private member bills were also introduced in the House.
Honorable members, held in conformity with COVID protocols, we were finally able to convene the session without much restriction. We all need to optimize our contributions for growth of the nation. A statistical evaluation sounds encouraging. 13 sittings, functional time 64 hours and 50 minutes against the total scheduled time of 63 hours and 26 minutes. Productivity 102%. This brief session was marked with display of wit, sarcasm, humor and intellect.
The winter session of Parliament commenced on the 7th of this month and was scheduled to end on the 29th of December. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla appealed to all the democratic institutions in the country to take up discussion on social evils like drug abuse. Addressing the media, Mr. Birla said the Lok Sabha discussed drug abuse at length. He said cutting across party lines, many members participated in the discussion to provide valuable suggestions to help fight social evils like drug abuse. Congress-led opposition today staged a walkout from the Rajya Sabha objecting to Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar's statement in the House on UPA Chairperson Sonia Gandhi's comment on the judiciary. Yesterday, the chairman had termed the UPA Chairperson's remarks as inappropriate, in which she had said the government is seeking to delegitimize the judiciary. Mr. Dhankar urged political leaders not to subject high constitutional offices to partisan stances. When the House met this morning, Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge raised the issue, saying there are precedents that comments made by leaders outside are not discussed in the House. He demanded that it should be removed from the record of the House. Leader of the House, Piyush Goyal, said Sonia Gandhi chose to cast aspersion on the chairman by her remarks. He said the high constitutional authority should be respected. Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar said he has high respect for every member of both houses of Parliament. He said the comment was an inappropriate reflection on him, adding that his office cannot be allowed to use partisan stances. Later, members from Congress, TMC, RJD and others staged a walkout from the House. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi today accused the opposition of not having trust in Jawans and the country's institutions. Talking to media outside Parliament, Mr. Joshi said Congress and other opposition parties are trying to mislead the country on the India-China border issue. He said despite a detailed reply in both houses on the issue, they were insisting on a discussion. He took a dig at Congress leader Rahul Gandhi for not attending the session. He also criticized Congress leader Jairam Ramesh, who had questioned curtailment of the Parliament session.
Military has given a statement. What else they don't? They don't want to believe our own military. Even when surgical strikes took place, at that time also, they were questioning the credibility or questioning the reliability of those things. They do not have belief on our Jawan. They do not have belief on our institution. And since they do not have the belief in our own institution, means they do not have belief in the country system.
Congress leader Jairam Ramesh had alleged that the government suddenly agreed to curtail the session by a week so that its emphasis on the use of COVID-appropriate behaviour to derail Bharat Jodo Yatra acquires a shade of respectability. Talking about the business of both houses of Parliament, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister informed that a total of 9 bills were passed by the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha during this session, which includes some major bills like the Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022, the Maritime Anti-Piracy Bill and the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur today criticised the Congress party for not following COVID protocol. Talking to media outside Parliament, Mr. Thakur said one of the state chief ministers was found COVID positive who was participating in Bharat Jodo Yatra with Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. The minister denied that the government wanted to stop the Yatra of the Congress.
ये जो नया वेरिएंट आया है इसके बाद नई चिंताएं पूरी दुनिया भर में जगाई गई हैं। प्रोटोकॉल फॉलो किए जा रहे हैं। क्या कांग्रेस में प्रोटोकॉल से ऊपर एक परिवार है? क्या उनकी जिद देश के नियमों से ऊपर है? देखिए हम भी समय समय पर अपने टेस्ट सारे ही करवा रहे हैं, मास्क लगा के घूम रहे हैं और आशा करते हैं बाकी लोग भी ऐसा ही करें।
Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya will hold a virtual meeting with state health ministers this afternoon on the COVID-19 situation. The meeting is taking place in the wake of the recent spike in cases of COVID-19 in some countries. Yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting to assess the COVID-19 situation, preparedness of health infrastructure and logistics, and the status of the vaccination campaign in the country. The Prime Minister also reviewed the emergence of new COVID-19 variants and their public health implications. During the meeting, Mr. Modi cautioned against complacency and advised strict vigil. In view of the upcoming festive season, Mr. Modi urged everyone to follow COVID-appropriate behaviour, including wearing masks in crowded places. He also urged that precaution dose must be encouraged, especially for vulnerable and elderly groups. 2% of the total passengers in international flights will undergo random COVID testing on arrival across all Indian airports from tomorrow. The Civil Aviation Ministry took the decision to minimize the risk of ingress of new variant of the virus in the country. The Union Health Ministry has written to the Civil Aviation Ministry in this regard. In a letter to the Civil Aviation Secretary, Rajiv Bansal, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan said such travellers in each flight shall be identified by the concerned airlines and they must preferably be from different countries. Such travellers will be allowed to leave the airport after submitting their samples. If positive, the report will be shared with the Integrated Disease Surveillance Programme and the concerned state for follow-up action. The government today granted approval to Bharat Biotech's nasal COVID vaccine for booster dose. According to sources in the Health Ministry, the nasal vaccine has been approved for those above 18 years of age. The vaccine will be available in private hospitals for a booster dose in the initial phase and will be introduced on the Co-Win platform from today. The nasal vaccine BBV154 had received approval of the Drugs Controller General of India in November for restricted use in an emergency situation for those above 18 as a heterologous booster dose. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. India and Bangladesh have agreed to start the discussion on the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement CEPA at an early date. The decision was taken during a meeting between Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and his Bangladesh counterpart Tipu Munshi in Delhi on Wednesday. Both sides agreed that CEPA will also create new jobs, raise living standards and provide wider social and economic opportunities in India and Bangladesh. In addition, the partnership would establish reliable and sustainable regional value chains. The ministers discussed various issues of mutual interest, including removal of non-tariff barriers and port restrictions, reopening of border hubs, and harmonization and mutual recognition of standards and procedures on both sides. Several other issues were also discussed, including settlement of trade in Indian rupees, strengthening connectivity and trade infrastructure, among others, to realize the full potential of India-Bangladesh economic ties. India has wrapped up its December presidency of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, with a special focus on terrorism, global south and maritime security. Addressing the last scheduled meeting of UNSC of the year and India's term at the Council, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ruchira Kambod, said that India did not hesitate to raise its voice against the common enemy of humanity such as terrorism. On India's aim at the UNSC, Ms. Kambod said when New Delhi entered the Council 2 years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said that India will use the prestige and experience of being the largest democracy in the world for the benefit of the whole world. She further said that during the last 2 years, India spoke out in support of peace, security and prosperity. India's UNSC non-permanent membership comes to an end on the 31st of December. Ireland, Kenya, Mexico and Norway diplomats to the UN also addressed the wrap-up session as they too would exit the UNSC after a 2-year term. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the 75th Amrit Mahotsav of Sri Swaminarayan Gurukul Rajkot Sansthan through video conferencing tomorrow. The Gurukul Sansthan was established at Rajkot, Gujarat in 1948 by Gurudev Shastri Ji Maharaj Sri Dharmaji Bandasji Swami. The Sansthan had expanded and currently it has more than 40 branches all over the world, providing facilities for school, undergraduate and postgraduate education to more than 25,000 students. National Farmers' Day is being observed today to commemorate the birth anniversary of the 5th Prime Minister of India, Chaudhry Charan Singh, and his contributions towards the upliftment of farmers in the country. On this day, awareness campaigns and drives are organized across the country to educate people about the role of farmers and their contribution to the economy. The News Services Division of All India Radio brings an exclusive interview of Anurag Jain, Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. In the interview, Mr. Jain shared with AIR how the National Industrial Corridor Program is a master planning exercise.
NICDC National Industrial Corridor Program, in which we are developing 11 industrial corridors and 32 nodes as of now. So in which we have completed 4 nodes, that is 4 new townships. One of them is Dholera in Gujarat, one is Shendra Bitkin in Maharashtra, one is Vikramudyogpuri in Madhya Pradesh, and one is Greater Noida in Uttar Pradesh. So these are state-of-art cities which have been developed, and now industrialists have started setting up their industry there, and they are integrated townships. So there are residential provisions for residential quarters also in that.
This interview can be heard on FM Gold channel from 9:15 p.m. onwards in the program Spotlight tonight. Cold wave continues to grip northern parts of the country today as the dense fog engulfs the Indo-Gangetic Plains, including Delhi, Haryana and Punjab. According to the Indian Meteorological Department IMD, cold wave and dense fog conditions are likely to continue in most parts of Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. In Punjab and Haryana, cold wave conditions and dense fog have been predicted at isolated places till Sunday. For Jammu and Kashmir, the weatherman has forecast colder nights over the next couple of days as further fall in the minimum temperature is expected. Meanwhile, in Delhi, the minimum temperature is likely to drop to 5 to 6 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 20 degrees Celsius during the next few days. In cricket, India were 230 for 4 in their first innings against Bangladesh on day 2 and the second and final cricket test in Dhaka when reports last came in. Resuming at the overnight score of 19 with no loss, India's top order today collapsed as both the overnight batter skipper KL Rahul and Shubman Gill departed in quick succession. On day 1, Bangladesh were all out for 227 runs. The KL Rahul-led Indian side leads the 2-match series 1-0 after winning the opening game by 188 runs. Now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Winter session of Parliament concludes as both houses adjourn sine-die ahead of schedule. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya to hold virtual meeting with state health ministers on COVID-19 situation this afternoon. Centre approves Bharat Biotech's nasal COVID vaccine for booster dose to be available on CoWIN app from today. India and Bangladesh agree to soon start discussion on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. In cricket, India were 234 for 4 against Bangladesh in their first innings on day 2 of second and final test match in Dhaka a short while ago. And with that, we end the midday news.